Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the animjam podcast. So usually I introduce the guest prior to starting the chat with them, but with this guest, our conversations were flowing so organically that I didn't even get a chance to. This guest is a rather special guest. He is Camilo, founder of Animbot. So like most animators, I use Animbot religiously every day, whether it's at work or for my personal projects. So it was really exciting to get to pick Alan's brain about animation, about coding, and just how he came up with Animbot. So we really hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as we did chatting with him. He dropped some great knowledge, and it's really inspiring how he built this thing from the ground up. So yeah, enjoy this podcast. See ya.
So, Billy, you are in Australia, right?
Yeah, I'm in Melbourne, and originally from Sydney. So yeah, I haven't left the country much. Jamie's like the opposite. Jamie's been everywhere around the world. I'm like always been in one place.
Well, like I think it's like, with animation, right? You're just always like, if you're lucky in the beginning, you stay at one spot and you get to, just stay with one studio and you don't have to worry about certain things. But, for me, I had to like, in order to have money in my bank account, I had to move to all these different studios to just like get my experience up. So, yeah, which I'm sure it's the same for you.
For me it was not only that, but I'm originally from Brazil, and the market there, the animation industry there is not very appealing. Let's put it that way. Like there's no much feature films going on, and the quality. It's always hard to it's hard to step up, like only doing like commercials and things like that. So I always wanted to have an experience somewhere like maybe United States or Canada. So I ended up coming to Canada. So that helped a lot. I mean, nowadays, I don't know, like, especially with the pandemic, a lot of people are working remotely. So that could work. I did some remote work back in the days for real effects. And that was really good. Like if I hadn't done that one, that was a really important step for me to get a job at Sony. When I worked there. So
you started off as you started off as commercials first, and then you moved into feature when you got into Canada, right?
In 3D, yeah. I started with traditional animation, but I did not much. That was what I wanted to do since I was a teenager or something around that age. But then like I think I was 23 or so at the time, I was still pursuing that, and then Disney closed the traditional studio there.
Yeah,
that was quite
I was
sad.
like, so I got like a weird moment in that career thing, and then at that point I haven't done anything in 3D. I mean, there was nothing happening much at that time in Brazil, at least. Like it was pretty much only commercials. And then I have worked in 2 feature films that we did in Flash.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Anytime I hear Flash, insane. I'm like, damn. That's when you know someone's been around, like when they use Flash.
Yeah, and Flash was not like a software that was designed for animation, like as a primary thing. It was like for web designers, right? But we used to like we use the software as like we were squeezing the software all the way to get something out of it, because it was really not made for that. And then Toon Boom is a software that came to fill that gap, I think.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, this is for animation. And then now I think Adobe changed the name to Animate, but the software itself is not much different. I think Toon Boom is still much better.
Yeah.
That's my, I mean, I haven't used them in ages, but anyways, and then I jumped into 3D. I remember like I grabbed the, do you remember those low man rigs? It was like just like there was no squash and stretch or on anything. There was no pretty much no skin on the character. It was like just parented to the joints. So the head was literally just the eye, and there was a sphere that would blink on top, one that would blink at the bottom, and the jaw was just one thing that you could just rotate.
Wow.
And I grabbed that rig from the internet. Then I started learning Maya, animating one, like a piece of dialogue that I got from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And I got a job with that because at that time, like nobody had anything. Like you see, like the demo reels nowadays, like students demo reels, they're like killing. Like it's like at that time you could get a job with pretty much anything. Like you would move it, whatever, you would get a job because there was nobody doing it.
Yeah,
so I was lucky.
Were you like using Maya at the time? Like, is that the 3D software?
That was the first software that I learned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To make that piece of. I think I was like studying. It feels like I'm a dinosaur talking about it because I remember like burning like DVDs with videos.
Yeah.
That would show like how to, like there was nothing on, there was YouTube at the time already, but there was nothing like on YouTube for us.
Yeah.
I remember like trying to search for stuff. It just, you can't find anything anywhere back in the days. There's like three people. It's like Keith Lango and there's a few guys out there.
I did like, Keith Lango helped me a lot. I did that 8-week program.
Oh yeah, nice.
But that was after this. Because I learned about Keith Lango in the studio that I got a job. Like they had that subscription that he had. Like I think every week or every month, I don't remember, he would release a video.
Yeah.
And they had all the videos there. So when I got to the studio, I was really like, swallowing a lot of information there as much as I could. And then I ended up doing the 8-week program that was with feedback and everything was pretty nice. But then in the studio we were using 3D Max, was not Maya.
Okay. So you basically had to relearn the software again.
Yeah, but it wasn't so bad because I at that point I had like 6 months of Maya, so it was not like I was not hooked up to anything. I pretty much just knew how to set keys and the tangents and things like that. So it was very simple.
But then how did you how long were you doing that, and then when did you move into Sony? Like what was that timeline?
So I got the job at that studio. That was 2007. Yeah, at the beginning of 2007. And then the first time that I worked at Sony was the end of 2012. So it was about 5 years and a half, more or less. So I worked at that studio. And then while I was working at that studio, I worked on remotely for Real Effects, as I mentioned, to the Open Season 3, and then there was an Ice Age Christmas special that they did. So that was all during that 5 years and a half thing. And then, on those two projects, I was working on Maya with Real Effects. But cool. Then, when I worked at Sony the first time, that was really like the first time that I was working full time in Maya. And I never worked on 3D Max after that.
That's so crazy. Like I feel like you were kind of doing the whole remote thing before, like, because now remote it feels like it's very common now because of the pandemic. But before this, I probably only heard of like a few other people that were really doing it full time, like the remote work. And like, how was that back then compared to like now? Was it were there a lot of opportunities, or were there like was it hard to navigate because studios want to keep everything really secretive, right?
Yeah.
So what's that process like?
I feel like at that time the studios were not very concerned about the security yet, so I think it was a kind of a transition period.
Okay.
And then, but as far as work, I think software was a big limitation. Like it was super hard. Like nowadays we have so many tools like Zoom and all the Shotgun and all those softwares that helped with that process. And I remember Real Effects, they had their own thing. I think they wrote that. It was a software that was managing everything. It was something, it was not like Shotgun per se, but it was supposed to do kind of the same job. And it was amazing. Like it was super effective. In fact, like it was better than the studio that I was working on, that we had maybe 12 people working there, and then we would shout, "Oh, the shot is done." Okay. But there I was like, okay, so just put it in there, like upload your shot. And next morning, the supervisor would open the software, would show like a list of things that he needed to do.
Yeah.
And then he would review it. And then after that, I would go into my side of it. It would show in my list of things to do. So it was very, very effective, I think.
Yeah.
And they would record videos. So it was like a recorded thing that they upload to the software. So it would like download and watch it.
Yeah.
Well, it worked well, I think.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, there was not many studios doing it. At least I didn't hear like a lot of opportunities like that. I think Real Effects was one, and I think there was another one doing like cool things like that, but I don't remember.
So
and then there was like
John Torello, right?
Yeah, I worked with him.
Yeah, so he was telling me when like I think it was maybe 2018. Yeah, he was like this after Peter Rabbit. That's when I worked with him, and then I was asking, I messaged him a few weeks later after when the show ended. I was like, hey, what you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just in, I forgot where he was. It was, I think maybe he was in Mexico. I forgot exactly, but he was traveling at the time. He was like, yeah, I'm just like in this place working for Flying Bark. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know you can do that. Like at that point, I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. I remember him like, sometimes he would get problems with the licensing of Animbot because of that traveling he was doing. He was like in one network, in another network. That was at the very beginning. So that helped me actually to tackle some things.
Beta testing Animbot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good segue actually. Like, how did you start Animbot?
So I wrote 8 tools first. That was the my first Maya tool, I would say. And then I did that out of the necessity of because I was not one of those lucky guys that you mentioned that got into a studio and stayed there for very long. I got a job at Sony and I worked 7 months on Smurfs 2. And then I had to look at something else because they had, I think, just Spider-Man at the time, and they were doing Smurfs 2 and Cloudy 1 or Cloudy 2. No, it was Cloudy
2.
Maybe it was the second one. Yeah. So they were doing that. So there were tons of animators there. And then those 2 movies ended on pretty much at the same time. So they had to let go a lot of people, and I was one of them. I was already like okay with, because I knew that the work would be short anyways. But then I was not used to that thing where you jump from one studio to the next, to the next, to the next. And then I got after that, I got a job at Method, and it was just 3 months.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, okay, I think that's how it's gonna be like now. I will be like jumping from one place to another. So okay, so I'm gonna live with that. But then when I got at Method, I didn't have any tool. So it was really hard to work in Maya without anything, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you are used to either like scripts that you download from the internet, or in-house tools and things like that. I think for me it was a combination of those. Like I had some things that I would grab from other people, and I got used to some of the in-house tools that they had at Sony. And then it's not about like the tool itself, like it's more like the workflow that you build around it. So like switching spaces, for example, like if you when you get used to switching spaces, it's hard not to use it anymore, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
It changes everything. Like it changes how, like, okay, now I need to think of which space I'm gonna start the shot with, because I cannot change it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it was
no flexibility.
So it was all those little things. And then I tried, the first thing that I tried was, okay, let me at least have one. I'm gonna pick some scripts that I like. I'm gonna rely on those, but I need something that's easy to install. Like because it took me like a week to install everything that I was used to and set hotkeys for it. Like I wanted something much faster. So when I knew that I was going to move to another studio in 3 months, so I said, okay, when I get there, just install it and done. I'm ready to go. So that was the first thing that I started doing. Like was a small tool, and I didn't like the shelf for some reason. I wanted something that on top of the timeline. So that was that's why I put it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was pretty much just like shortcuts for the tools that I had. Not that I wrote, that I downloaded from other people. So it's just like Twin Machine, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I had it there. And then in the process of creating that, I started learning Python. So I started like slowly, like, okay, I don't like, I remember the first thing that I wanted to change was in the Twin Machine was the fact that it was a floating window. And when you click at something there, you couldn't use the arrows to jump on keys anymore, because the focus, the focus of the pointer or something wasn't that floating window. So I need to click back on the viewport in order to do it. So it was kind of annoying, right? So, but it was a small thing. So I started like changing that. Okay, so I jump into the code, trying to find a way, like took like 2 weeks to change just that. And then I thought, that's how I do it.
The Twin Machine.
Oh God. And then
that's cool, So like, how did you learn coding? Like, were you just
there was a guy.
Google
there was a guy that that was the majority afterwards, but the starts of it was with a guy that worked at Method, and he was a rigger, but he was an animator as well before, so he knew like Python quite a lot. And I don't know, like he started like teaching me some stuff, and I was asking, and he, that's how you do it, and blah blah blah. And then that was like an eye-opening to me, because I didn't know how to make anything very complex. I mean, I didn't learn overnight, of course. Like A-Tools, like if you look at the code of A-Tools, it's pretty bad. Like it's a lot of things there that it's a no. But it's a process of learning. And when I went back to Sony again, because that was kind of I think I spent maybe 1.5 years working at Method, and then I think Rainmaker. And then I went back to Sony again. And by that time I had the tools already, like in that pretty much in the state that it is right now. And then long story short, they started using their officially, and I started to animate and also support the tool in the studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of extra work.
It is, and with no extra payment, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was doing like, and the worst thing is that the studio is so big, like people don't know exactly other departments what they are doing. So the animation supervisor was not aware that I was doing that. But even if I told him, he would forget, because like 200 animators, you know. Yeah. And then the pipeline supervisor knew that I was an animator, but if something was broken, I had to fix it, because I took that responsibility. So I wasn't that kind of thing where I needed to deliver my shots and also, fix things when it breaks. And I don't know why, like I was still like making new things for it, because it's never end. And you would make a new thing and then it would break. But it was like I learned a lot, because the first time that when they decided to make A-Tools official there, I got help from a pipeline guy.
Yeah.
So he was like, he looked at the code, and then he was just basically like saying to me all the things that it's really like a bad thing to do. Not in that way, but he was doing like kind of guiding me how to do it. Some things that could break other stuff in the pipeline by doing that way, like global variables. In a few other stuff. So then it was nice, because it was the first time that I was actually like doing something for a pipeline properly.
Yeah.
And although there was always like bugs and things, but it was much more like I learned how to make things much more solid, for sure. So it was definitely like a essential experience for me to even like think of doing making an Animbot later on.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very similar thing to me, actually. Like very similar experience. I started like just kind of dabbling in code and whatnot, and then eventually like it's so helpful to have someone who is a developer just say like, oh, here's like the general guidelines for how you should write things, and you don't have to, because those are the things that are the hardest to learn. I feel like if there's no one to say like, oh, you shouldn't probably do this. But then I guess what happened next with Sony and A-Tools, and how did that like spawn and kick off Animbot?
So then I worked for about 2.5 years, I think. Yeah, I worked on Hotel 2 and Storks, and then on Emoji. So I left like 6 months in Emoji, more or less. And I remember like, so I was working as an animator on Hotel 2. And then when we moved to Storks, I was working as a lead. So it was a different, job. And at that period, I had so much things to do. And so like I didn't have much time to animate almost. So I was like, pretty much I didn't do anything with A-Tools in that period. Pretty much like almost nothing. But you are working, and ideas start come like naturally, right? Like for like tool ideas and how to improve things. And then And then I was also learning coding a little bit because I was on Storks. I did some coding for the tools for the show, just on the side kind of thing. And then when that was over, I said, no, I want to work as animator again, at least for, And then I was working at Emoji as an animator. So it was much like, okay, now I can sit on my desk and nobody disturb me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then like I said to myself, okay, so I need to find a way to find a balance between, because I wanted to code as well. Like that's the weird thing. Like I like to code as well, but I don't like as much as I like to animate, but I like to code. And then I wanted to find some work. Yeah. Like, okay, so I need like a proper time to code, and I need a proper time to animate, something like, I don't know. And it's hard to find that in a studio like that big, because there's no role for someone like this, pretty much.
Yeah.
At least there wasn't. And then next thing that I wanted to do is, okay, so then one thing that I can do, I think that would be the best, would be to animate at the studio and then work on this tool at home. Because by that time, I had learned so much coding that I didn't want to use anything of a tools. Like I want to start from scratch, really like.
Yeah.
And then I came with that idea to the guys there. But like big company, like you are like a small cog in the big machine. It's hard to find. It's not like departments don't talk much to each other. It's hard to find something like that's different from they are already doing. Like you need to be the one that fits on those spots, not the other way around, right? So I tried to come with this proposal, let's put it that way. But then you can't bring the code to your home, or like if the code is in the studio, you cannot bring back to home. So I wouldn't be able to do it because of this, and also because everything that you do while being an employee at a big studio like that, it's their IP.
Yeah.
So it's their intellectual property. So I couldn't branch that out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically like, no, you cannot. There's no way you can do that. I was talking to the head of the software at that time there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so that
then,
kicked off the whole thing. Then that's when you're like,
yeah,
I'm doing this. What was that like?
Yeah, then I got frustrated, but then what I did was, okay, so let me try. I was happy at Sony, like as a studio. It was like my dream job. Mm-hmm. I would work there for the rest of my life just fine and being like fulfilled with it. But then after that, I said, well, I think I'll have to really think about what I'm planning to do with my career. Like, do I let it go, that coding part, and keep just animating, or do I find a way to work on that? So it was like a lot of days, like thinking, and then one day I decided to look around for other studios in Vancouver to see if that kind of position would be possible. At least you have the IP to myself, working from home. So then I look around like for a week, and I got three offers. Yeah. Only in that week. And on the three of the studios, they knew me because of a tools. That was one thing that I didn't know about. Like I didn't know that was so popular at that time.
Yeah.
Like the studios were using as well. like the and then they all were okay. There was with that IP thing. I think only one studio that didn't have the answer at that time, but the other two said it was okay. And then that's what I did. Like one of the studios was a method, the one that I had worked before. So I went back to them to work for them for a while. And my plan at that time was like, okay, so I'm gonna try to do this. I think 4 months would be fine. I will rewrite a tool from scratch in 4 months. I will have that tool, the ideas that I have. Like I made a list of everything that I want, like really like a plan for it. And then I thought it was going to take 4 months, and I said, okay, so if that doesn't work, I will just, let it go for good. So that was the thing.
So that was like really like make or break moment with
Exactly. It was, yeah.
Wow.
I thought I gotta try. So if that doesn't work, that's okay. Then I try to get a job back at Sony again, or another studio or whatever. But then, first of all, like it took, in 4 months, I was something around like 15% of the work.
Yeah.
And that's how development goes.
And I was exhausted. Because I was working, normal hours as animators that we work like, okay, work 8 hours for a few weeks or months, and then jumps to 10 and then 12.
Yeah.
And then I still had to do it like things at home. And I think by that time was when my daughter was born. So I have a kid already. I had a kid already at that time, and then my daughter was born. So then you can imagine, like I was like really like my body was feeling. It was the first time that I felt like an old man.
Oh wow.
I was tired all the time. I had back pains.
Yeah. A lot more stress.
And then I had and then I had to make another like big decision. That was I need to find more time to work on it, because I said, okay, it's gonna take much more time than I anticipated. So either I find more time to do it, or it's gonna take like 5 years to do this, and I probably wouldn't stand like working 5 years on something like that without any compensation or any. I didn't have any feedback also, because at that point I was not I was the only one using it, because I didn't want to spread it at that moment so far. So and then the other decision was to take a cut on my income, I would say. So I would invest my own money on it, not directly per se, but like I needed to find a place that had less hours of work, and also I needed to make my commute shorter. So I needed to move closer to whatever studio that I was going to work. Which, in Vancouver, they are almost all of them. It's like downtown and around that area. So, and that's the most expensive area to live. And what else? Yeah, that was kind of the idea. Like, okay, let me invest I'm going to invest some money on it.
Yeah.
And then that's what I did. Like I tried to find, at first I wanted a remote job, because I said, okay, I can work remotely. Even if I was working remotely full time, I knew that I could do the job faster and spend at least like 1 day of the week doing my thing. I could get the job done in 4 days, and then the extra day I would work on Animbot. And then I said, okay, 1 day per week, like a full day, would be a good amount of time to give a good push on this.
Yeah.
But then I found a job. I found a job remotely, but at the same time, I got an offer from a studio in Vancouver, still, Stellar Creative Lab. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were super nice. Like I told them the story. I told them that I had an offer from a remote studio. I went there for the interview and everything, but I told about the tools, and the owner of the studio knew about it as well, like the tools. And then I was almost like turning my back and going home after the talk was super good with him. And then he was like, what if you work 4 days a week, and then you take Friday for you? And then I said,
that is
that's
very
even
nice.
better
Really
than I
wanted
was
you.
trying to do.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Because they were,
Yeah.
I got lucky because they were starting the studio. They had they still have like a very like a mentality of trying to do the best with the people that they have, like extract what they have, what they are good at, even if it's not their role. So they do that a lot. Like for example, they got a guy there that was a modeler, and then he wanted to do some lighting. They said, okay, start doing some lighting, and the guy turned out really good.
Wow.
So that kind of thing. So anyways, like I got this this job, and I worked for them for like a year and a half or so. And that was and like just to give like a perspective, it took 11 months to get Animbot from 0 to the beta version. That was when I released the beta for that was actually the other the next moment of make it or break thing.
Yeah.
Because at that time I didn't know if people would even want that kind of thing, because first there was no tool like a commercial tool that designed for our us like mortals animators.
Mm-hmm.
Like a tool that would pay. I mean, I'm saying there wasn't, but there was a few, but there was not like nothing like I was planning to do. Like a tool that has almost everything. Like I was supposed to be like one simple thing that does at least like 90% of what we need. And then I didn't know that it would be accepted well.
Yeah, actually,
I thought like
it's funny because I wanted to ask you like whether like this was a business decision when you made your Facebook group, because I thought that was like a very smart way to sort of not only develop tools like to see whether people wanted it, but also like get ideas as to what people used, and then you added it onto Animbot, and then it became something that that you could sell, or you could add to Animbot. And I was wondering, like, was that like part of a business decision, or was it like it's more like for you to test certain things?
I was totally part of that business thing that I was trying to. I mean, I'm not a businessman, so but that was kind of an instinct that I did, more like an instinct of. I think at that time was first if you would generate some interest in that kind of thing. So right at the beginning, I said like, okay, it's gonna be. It's not gonna be free, right? Because that was the first thing that I tried to do. I wanted to do something that was, how do I say that? Like, like a project that can last for as many years as it needs to be. Because I knew that when I made a tools was free, I knew the amount of work that would go into it, And I knew for sure that I wouldn't be able to do it for free anymore, because if I were to do it for free, I would have to work at a studio full time, and I wouldn't have the time to do it. So it was not a reality.
Yeah.
Like it was not, it would be just, it wasn't appealing to me, like redoing that again. So like being like a commercial thing that I could earn some income and being able to rely on that, so I could, really, really like invest my time on. That was the major thing, like since the beginning. And then that group came in, as I mentioned, like more like, I think I created that group around the time that I released the beta. And then I wanted people like to test. And since the beginning, I said, it's going to be a commercial thing. So if you are against like paying for tools, at least they know since the beginning, so they don't get hooked without knowing.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't want to build a company or anything. Like not legally, like legally I have a company, but I didn't want to build a corporate perception on the tool. Like I want that to be like, okay, this is an animator that does what you are doing, that's doing it.
Okay.
I wanted to give that feeling, because that's the real thing. Like I'm at home doing my thing. I'm not, there's not like I'm the only one coding it. So that I wanted to be like very transparent about that. And I think I found that was what was very appealing as well for people, because they, at the beginning, I felt like the vast majority accepted that idea pretty well. Like they didn't care. Okay, I can pay some. Of course, they were worried about how much I would charge for it, and I didn't know, to be honest. Like I was very early at that point, and then, but that was the only thing. Like they wanted something affordable, and they will be okay with it, because they know that if they animate faster, they can enjoy more, and it's okay to pay for something like this. Something that you can
always
afford,
think about, like tools like that. Always think in terms of like cups of coffee. Like how many cups of coffee is this worth? It's totally worth like 2 cups of coffee or whatever. But,
like the moment I tried the beta, I remember I was like, I tried the beta and I was hooked. This is like he's like a drug dealer. Like he's just letting us try. And
Absolutely.
then I was like, now I have to buy it.
Even told you up front, is like, you're gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
You're gonna like this.
And that's why I was like, I was so amazed, because like the Facebook group was so good in terms of like people were chipping in and saying, what they wanted, like what other tools that they thought were like that fit in that Animbot kind of tool set. And you pretty much added it in added more stuff in every time, and it just became so robust that it's like, I can't not have it, and it's been awesome using it. Thanks for watching or listening to our content. If you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Peace.